Hello, everyone. Welcome to Town Hall number 40. I'm going to pull a Santi here. Let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Cool, cool. First and foremost, I want to address the elephant in the room. No, I am not Santi. He's on vacation right now, so you're stuck with me. But we're going to have a good time anyway. I'm, of course, joined by CEO Michael Wagner. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good, and welcome to the main stage. Great to have you co-hosting here. Everybody, pour a drink out for Santi on his behalf, enjoying his vacation time. I will tell you, he messaged me. He's not happy that we're hosting a town hall without him. This will be the first one he's ever missed. He might actually even be out there in the audience, but great to be here. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Cool. Let's touch on the agenda real quick, so you guys all know what we're talking about today. We're gonna give a quick recap on everything we've done since the last town hall. We're going to be talking about a patch coming to Showroom R 2.1. We're also going to be talking about something we're calling Destination Starbase, and we're going to cap it off with some exciting news on the DAO. So stay tuned for that. You ready to get started, Michael?
I am, but Dom, just as this is your first time up here, I do need frequent reminders to take a sip of water. So I'll be expecting that through the course of the
I'll be
town
sure to
hall.
remember that one. Cool. Awesome. Then I'm going to kick us off with a quick recap. So everybody knows everything that has happened since the last town hall in the Star Atlas world. So in the last month, we had a Platinum Surge event in Escape Velocity where 3 people found 2 Ogrika Sunpaw and 1 Pierce D9. We also released Showroom R 2.1. And with Showroom R 2.1, there came some new features and updates like all ships being flyable. There's a new jetpack feature, solo ground racing, experimental mode, and then we also introduced the test flight feature where we rotate the different ship manufacturers and you can test fly any ship from that manufacturer, large size and below. We also reintroduced actually, the Atlas pairs into the marketplace. And then a big one that has happened recently is we transitioned from an infinite supply of food, fuel, ammunition, and toolkits that were sold by us, and we transitioned to a player-driven economy. That was a pretty huge update, Michael.
It was a huge update. I think it was well received. Pretty exciting, if nothing else, but exciting for us, and I also think exciting for the community. From my perspective on this, something that we've communicated since the earliest days is that the intention here is to build a legitimate, functional, sustainable economy across Star Atlas, and have that driven by the players, by the citizens, by the participants within Star Atlas. So this was the first step. I think some people felt it was a bit dramatic. It was a bit quick. I would just my personal perspective on this is that this is part of the transition. We have to take these leaps and bounds. It's what allows us to start unlocking this potential and empowering the community. So I'm quite excited about it. We're seeing, the forces of supply and demand work right now. We're also seeing forces of individual or DAC related strategy take place right now as various inventories are building and supply is being consumed and hoarded. And to me, this is really all part of the social and psychological experiment that is ongoing right now and feeds into the impact that will have on the economy. So our team's been collecting data on this since we made that transition, and I think it's really cool, pretty exciting.
Yeah, man, we've been saying for a while that the game already started, so that's how it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on with the recap. We released a Star Atlas lore wiki where you can get caught up on all the canon Star Atlas lore. I can't tell you guys how many times someone asked me, "Hey, where can I read all the Star Atlas lore?" And we just be like, "Yeah, go read the Medium articles." So now you can have one-stop shop, lore.staratlas.com. Go check it out. Jose and Matt Mendy have been putting a lot of work into that. It's awesome. And then finally, we announced a official Star Atlas meetup in San Diego. If you're able to come to San Diego for the meetup, we'd love to meet you. There's going to be some cool goodies that we'll be giving away. Michael's going to be there as well as myself. So I'm super excited to meet whoever comes. It's been a pretty busy month, and we're not slowing time anytime soon, right, Michael?
No, I mean, we've been full steam ahead since the beginning of the year and really even going back since the inception of the company. But really excited with the velocity that we've been able to create over the course of this year, and a little bit of a transition to a more staggered, but also more frequent iterative releases. I think it's really sustaining the momentum and keeping the attention and between between the social campaign of Never Alone, which is packed full of lore and story, but also the game releases and product releases, I'm extremely pleased with the progress of the team, and a lot more coming still going through the course of this year. I did want to just mention quickly, Don, because you noted the meetup in San Diego. That is going to be associated with the Play GG event hosted by Solana. It's the Solana Games Day event, and that is free to attend. So anyone in the area or interested in traveling to San Diego, that event is running for the 18th and the 19th of July. We will be presenting there. We'll also have some demos there, so you all are invited to that as well. But we'd love to have you join us for the meetup event at a brewery on the 19th. So please do stop by or let us know if you can make it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a really nice event. I'm super excited. But yeah, we're definitely keeping our foot on the gas pedal for the rest of this year. All right, Michael, let's tackle the first agenda item, which is the Showroom R2.1 patch. When can people expect the Showroom R2.1 patch, and what exactly are we fixing in that?
Yeah, I mean, this is coming hot on the tails of the 2.1 release. What we've been pushing for is really setting some dates and getting things out on those dates, and that resulted in not having everything perfectly polished, but that's also what enables us to get you involved and provide feedback and help us with discovering various bugs and any issues that may exist with any one of our releases. And so we are expecting a 2.11 release to come out later today. At least that's what Danny told me. If it doesn't happen, you know where to bring the pitchforks, okay? But we are expecting that release today, sometime after the town hall. Dom, actually, I think when the patch rolls out, maybe we set up a little multiplayer session.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be playing tonight for sure. Also, you got what's going on with your cat in the background? Is my mic go up?
It's not just you. He's gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through the Showroom R2.1 patch really quick. It seems Michael has hit a bit of a roadblock here, which is totally okay. All right, so let's talk about the Showroom R2.1 patch really quick. Like you said, you're going to be able to expect that patch today, actually. As for what people can expect from that patch, we do have some patch notes going out later today. I'm going to be posting that in the announcements channel, so look forward to that. But for some high level updates on the Showroom R2.1 patch, here are some notes that I have. So you guys all know, you guys may have experienced it. There was a bug where you're stuck in the middle of the level when you first reload the showroom, and there was a fix where you change your character. Well, that's been fixed, thankfully. Thank you, team. We also added the ship selection screen to the main menu. We fixed some numerous amounts of bugs for dogfight mode, and we also fixed a bunch of bugs for the ground racetrack. Moving on, we had some ship animation fixes for the Opal Jet, the Fimble Ecos Unibomber, Pure Sex 4, and Calico Medtech. We had numerous fixes to the leaderboard. And then a big one for us is the fixed photo modes and photo gallery issues. So there's been a bug around the photo mode and photo gallery that we fixed, and we're going to be able to finally do the photo mode competition and launch the photography career that we've been talking about. So look out for more details on that. It's gonna be absolutely awesome. Michael, are you back?
The power just went out at my house, so I am back, but I'm on mobile. I'm glad you covered those updates. I'm going to sit here and listen in on mobile. I think I have a few questions for Dan and BCM, but fortunately, we're rolling into the meat of and substantial portion of the town hall today. So I'll turn it back over to you, but I am listening in.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm just going over the Showroom R2.1 patch notes right now. It's really exciting stuff. The photo mode is a big deal, and I'm really looking forward to, like I said, seeing everyone's photos and having competitions around it. But yeah, moving on. I've seen a couple people have been curious on what Destination Starbase was in the agenda item. Michael, I don't know if you want to talk on that or you want me to talk on that, but you go ahead and let me know.
Yeah. And can you hear me okay right now? I'm still
Yeah,
trying to
you're
work through some
perfect.
sounds.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, cool. I'll just go really, really quickly through this portion of it. Destination Starbase is effectively a continuation of the Start Sequence campaign that we kicked off last year. I think many of you will recall the Start Sequence campaign included the sale of multiple assets. That was discounts on ships. It was the first time we sold claim stakes. It was also the first time that we sold CSS, or Central Space Station, land plots as well. Now, it's been quite a few months since we've listed anything new on the marketplace. You might be asking yourself, why are they listing new assets now, and what are those assets? Well, we want to get you well prepared for what is up and coming in the next release of Sage, which is currently under the operating title of REC, Resource Extraction and Crafting. This is going to be the central gameplay loop of Sage in the very next release, and so you'll be leveraging your real ship assets. And I do want to emphasize that because this was an outstanding question that's been common in the community. In this next release, it will use the fleet management program. So only those ships that you actually own will be able to participate in Sage in the future. But you'll be taking those ships out. You'll be using your claim stakes. You'll be not using your claim stakes. You'll be using your ships to extract these materials from asteroids and other celestial bodies, and then using those in crafting formulas and managing the logistics of the supply chain. And you'll be extracting R20, so the 20 resources across Sage, and again, crafting those into other materials and resources. And we'll share a lot more about all of that in the coming weeks. But as part of the path to Sage Rec, we do want to get you kind of set up with a new asset that we think will perform well there, and that is the Armstrong Industrial Mining Platform assets, or the IMP, as we call them. There'll be 3 different ships that are coming out that include a small, medium, and capital size ship across that line. And we are going to be rolling out through a slightly different structure than we've executed on the past. So we're going to be taking 30% of the inventory and putting those on the market as a promotional period. We're going to be running those at 50% off of their origination price, or it's not necessarily VWAP, but that is a term commonly used. But it is off of the origination price. And then we won't be releasing any additional inventory in that until we either sell out of the first tranche of that allocation. And sorry if you guys hear the background noise, I am on my mobile outside, but until we sell out of the first tranche of that allocation, or until we go live with Sage Rec itself, at which point we'll look at adding the remainder of the inventory onto the marketplace. Now, one really cool thing with the IMP lineup that I think also makes them quite unique over the next couple of weeks, again, and leading up to Sage Rec, and really beyond that, to the extent that you're not using them in Sage itself, is that these are the first ship assets that have dual function utility across the existing programs that we have available on the Play portal site, which is Faction Fleet and Faction Claims. And what that means is you will be able to use your IMP mining platform to both participate in Faction Claims if you want to produce R4, and alternatively, you can swap over to Faction Fleet if you'd like to consume resources and produce Atlas. Now, you cannot use them both concurrently. You won't be earning across both of those different programs. You do have to decide, but these ultimately become the first fully self-sufficient ship that you can have in your fleet. So let me stop there, Dom. I think it was probably a lot, but it's the next phase of the Start Sequence sale campaign. We're excited to get these ships out. We've been holding them back for a while, and we think they're going to be a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and you sound perfect, by the way. It's definitely a good time to also take a sip of water. And I did see a question asking, can normal ships be in both Faction Claims and Faction Fleet? And no, it is just these ships, right, Michael?
These are the only ships that have that functionality. One more thing to note there, but not necessarily on that question. And then I just lost my train of thought. But no, No other. Oh, that's what it is. So no other ship will be able to participate in both. It's only the Imp. A part of this transition, by the way, and I don't think we've rolled out the announcement yet, but all ships now across all fleets are getting updated ship configuration. So this is the V2 config coming from the game design department. So you're going to see some updates to all of the stats and how they're displayed on the portal site as we roll this out. And I don't think I shared the date, but I think we're rolling this out next Wednesday. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think next Wednesday or next Thursday is the plan to release these Imp ships.
And I know you're on mobile now, so I don't know if you can see me sharing my screen, but I am sharing my screen of one of the ships. This is the Armstrong Imp Tip. And then I'm going to share the next one. This is the Armstrong Imp Tap. And then here's the Armstrong Imp. Man, that looks insane. I'm not going to lie, that looks crazy. These ships are absolutely insane. I'm very much looking forward to it. All right, well, cool. Michael, is there anything else you want to say on that, or can we move on?
No, thanks, Ben. And that was a good question, so I'm glad someone asked. But yeah, these ships are looking incredible.
Hey, if I could interject real quick, there's a question that keeps getting posted about REC, and what is going to be available in that. Mike, can you clarify?
So REC is just the next release that is up and coming in Sage. It's an acronym for Resource Extraction and Crafting. And those are the core gameplay loops that are coming online, again, supportive of this idea of transitioning the economy over. So players are going to be deploying their fleets into the Sage map. They'll be exploring that map, extracting resources. Now, these are the R20 resources, not the R4 that are essentially refined resources today or crafted resources today. And you'll be taking the R20 and using crafting formulas to then convert that into a variety of different materials. There's more to it than that. I don't want to share any more of what it's going to be, but essentially it's the next major step in Sage. It's also the next major stage in moving towards the player-driven economy.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Now let's move on to the main event of the town hall, and something a lot of people are excited for, me included, the DAO. And to help us talk about and give updates on the DAO, I would like to introduce BCM, our Star Atlas DAO PM. How you doing, man?
I'm pumped, dude. I am absolutely pumped.
Hey, I just want to jump in real quick too and say welcome to the stage. Everybody knows him as BCM, but we're going to out him today officially as Michael Wade. Been on the team for about almost 2 years now. He's been leading up. He's been the producer on the DAO platform at least since January of 2022. But there's been a number of releases across the DAO through time, starting with just the release of the platform, and then the addition of the Polis Locker, and then the addition of the Atlas Locker. Going into this year, adding the treasury views, the dark mode, the new wallet connect feature. So that you guys have been working on a lot, but now we're really getting down to the kind of the core of what the DAO is all about, right?
Yeah. We've got a lot of work that I can't wait to show. So I don't know if Dan was gonna pop in here and go over some things first, or if we wanted to go into what I have prepared for today or not. So it's up to you guys.
Actually, good point. I would like to just have a quick refresher for everyone out there in the audience, just to talk about the architecture of the DAO and speak specifically about the Star Atlas Foundation, what its function is, what purpose it serves, and also, what the implications are for all of the community members out there who are stakeholders, Polis holders participating in that Polis Locker. So, Dan, we'll turn it over to you. I know you're also out in the woods somewhere. You said the cicadas are making a lot of noise, but
yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I hope the background noise isn't too crazy. Hope everyone can hear me. There's crickets or cicadas. I don't know the difference, honestly, but they're quite loud. Yeah, hey, everyone. Really excited to be here again. Just a few quick words from me before we turn it back to BCM, who's, I think, like his excitedness when it comes to the DAO is like infectious, let's just say. Can't wait to hear more from him. So just on the DAO structure, we're building the DAO to be as decentralized and autonomous as possible. So right now, I think that it's fair to say that the Star Atlas DAO is still in its nascency, and it'll only get more decentralized and more autonomous as it grows. The goal being to eventually have the DAO function so autonomously that Star Atlas can be self-governed by its own players for as long as the Polis governance token is out there. So to clarify that point, the DAO really is just a set of governance smart contracts that are deployed on Solana. And I think you'll see soon, as we release more content around this, that we are weaving in the concept of blockchain supremacy into how the DAO will operate. The foundation, I think you've all heard about the Star Atlas Foundation before. So just to clarify on its role, it is a separate legal entity that serves and protects the DAO. It doesn't actually encompass the entirety of the DAO, which is the autonomous set of smart contracts, but it does carry out critical functions in service of the DAO. And it especially steps in whenever there are real world processes that can't be automated by smart contracts. So things like entering into a written contract with a third party, things like that. But that's really it from me. I think we're all here to hear more from Dom and BCM on the DAO itself.
Yeah, we have a pretty exciting update on the DAO. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to let BCM take it away.
Thank you, Dom. I do want to mention one thing about BCM. So when I joined the team, Christmas of 21, give or take, there were literally every meeting that I was in, there was probably about 5 or 6 other people named Mike. So it was easier for me to just go by BCM than trying to figure out like who's Mike and who's Michael and who's that kind of stuff. So just a little bit of trivia for you guys. Anyways, I'll get into it now. So yes, right here. Thank you. The Star Atlas DAO, our decentralized autonomous organization, is built on a community first and community driven ethos. It empowers players. Go back. You're right there. It empowers players to have a voice in how the Star Atlas metaverse is realized through important aspects of game development and balance, economic and treasury levers, as well as structural improvements within and outside of the game itself. The DAO, in essence, is the way in which we will make fundamental decisions about the metaverse that we're building, and is the way in which the community will take the reins and help guide the economic and gameplay development of the Star Atlas metaverse. So I'm excited today to talk about our declaration, next slide please, of our first Polis improvement proposal, PIP1. This document and our new updated Govern app is the results of months of work by the Automata team, and one that we've been eagerly awaiting to share with the community. Our roadmap for PIP1 includes 4 phases: declaration, debate, decision, and finally, democratic convergence. The declaration is where we are going to be starting next week with the publication of PIP1 and the launch of the new Govern app. Following that, we'll have at least 4 to 6 weeks of debate, which will feature public comments, an ongoing community interest vote, which I'll show you later. We're going to use that to gauge the community reaction to PIP1. Debate will also feature at least 1 live debate session, a town hall type event with the community to speak publicly on the pros and cons of the measure before we actually go to decision, which would be the official on-chain vote. The vote itself will take 2 weeks, and then when that vote is hopefully successfully passed, we'll basically ratify it and open the gates for Star Atlas Council elections, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And probably later in early 2024, we'll be opening the door to citizen proposals through the app. Now, I know we've got a couple citizen proposals already that Dan will talk about after I wrap up here. But just to be clear, like, we're not opening that through the Govern app this year. Do not anticipate that. So let's talk about what you're going to see at govern.staratlas.com. PIP1 has 3 defining articles. Article 1, which we have been referring to, Dan referred to it as the blockchain supremacy clause, underscores that the DAO is bound to a set of programs and accounts that operate on the Solana blockchain. Code is law, is basically what it boils down to. Article 2 is going to be the Star Atlas Constitution, which enshrines our guiding principles of quality and safety, community ownership, and sustainable governance. The Constitution also details how our process works through this declaration, debate, decision, and democratic convergence. I'll get into more detail into that in a moment if you guys are interested. And finally, the third article will ratify the formation of the foundation that Dan just talked about, our real world agent, which will act on behalf of the DAO in Earth-based legal and business matters. Passage of PIP 1 will allow us to formally bring the Star Atlas DAO into being and is our next step towards fulfilling this vision of a player-owned ecosystem. PIP 1 builds on the principles set forth in the Star Atlas white paper, economics paper, and sustainable governance papers, which are our founding documents. Now, I've prepared a brief demo of what you can expect to see. Make that full screen for everybody here. So this is going to be the updated front page. So you can grab your screenshots of that right there, guys, because you're going to want to basically have that reference for the next couple of days, because that's all you're going to get out of me as far as PIP 1 is concerned for today. We're not going to be leaking any of the content of that before when we go live. And I can confirm that the go live date will be next Wednesday. What I'm showing here is just a reminder that all of the operations within the DAO is based on your PvP. So having a locker of some amount, doesn't matter if it's one poll list locked for 2 weeks or if you have thousands of poll lists locked for 5 years, as long as you have some stake in the DAO, then you're going to be able to authenticate your wallet and go through what I'm about to show you. So this is just a reminder. So once you have your locked poll list, you'll be able to go to the proposals tab. And eventually this will be built out with all of the proposals that we have active. So right now we're just showcasing PIP 1. There's the abstract, which is kind of what you saw earlier. And I'll show you the details of what the app's going to look like here. So we're going to have all kinds of information. We'll delve into some of this for you guys. But basically what you're going to see is this new authentication flow for the comments section. So down here in the proposal discussion area, you're going to see the authorize wallet button. And I think I took a little long to get into it, but this is not a blockchain transaction. This is a blockchain signature. So this is not actually being broadcast to Solana. You don't need any gas or anything like that to do this. This is just basically a wallet signature that we're using to authorize and make sure that you're the owner of that pub key. Once you've done that authorization, you'll be able to take a bunch of different steps on the app. You'll be able to post comments. You'll be able to reply to other people's comments. There's a report button, edit functionality, and we're also going to have something that's called endorsement. Now, what the endorsement does, everywhere in this app, you're going to see people's PvP, like the proposal author, the comment author. Everywhere that you see somebody's pub key address, you're going to know how much PvP they have, because ultimately we want to know like who's putting their stack behind it, right? And so that's going to be prevalent everywhere. So you can respond to other people's comments, you can endorse their comments, and basically we're going to use all of that stuff as signaling to figure out what is the most important and what's the most supported comments and so forth. And what we have over on the right hand side here is a public interest voting system. It's it's off-chain voting, which is there for us to be able to gauge the community support for the measure. And I'll get into the details of what that is basically, but you're going to have two buttons here, either approve or disapprove, where when you push that button, it's going to calculate your PvP and it's going to add that to the stack. And so what we're showing here is the number of people, or the amount of PvP that is in favor of the measure and the amount of PvP that is not in favor of the measure as a percentage of all of the community's PvP. And I don't know if I need to break that down any further than that. Dom, you want to move to the next slide real quick? So this is a rather convoluted document, but I want to give you guys a sense of what it is. It should line up with the text of the document that we're going to release on Wednesday. Basically, this is the process that we're going to use to feed these things in from you guys to on-chain blockchain truth, right? So we're going to allow you guys to basically, and we're dog fooding it too. So PIP 1 is going to follow this process as well. We're releasing it at kind of the public interest. So you have an idea, you have like a kernel of an idea, and you go out there and you tell people what it is. And they can say, I think it's a good idea, I think it's a bad idea, and you can refine that idea until either you give up or you have something that works, right? And so once it works, once we hit that threshold of public support, then what's going to happen is that you're going to be interacting with the Star Atlas Council. And the council is basically going to be our moderators and our kind of liaisons between you as the author of the PIP and the Star Atlas team, right? And really it's going to be me for the next 6 months, because somebody's going to have to take your idea and develop it and provide the specifications and the requirements. It's going to have to go through review of the team, of the blockchain team, of any other engineer that's going to have to be involved in implementing and bringing your vision to life. Like we've got to work through all that. And so it's basically a project management framework, if you will. And so as those approvals and all these check marks get knocked off, what happens is it goes into the actual on-chain voting. And again, so when the vote is ready to happen, there will be an activation, a 48-hour delay, and then 2 weeks will open. And then hopefully successfully, when the vote passes, there will be an execution by the foundation of the actual blockchain transactions to make that happen. It could be something as simple as an attestation of a document somewhere, which is what we're doing for PIP1. It could be a token transfer from the DAO treasury to another address for services rendered, or it could be a remote call to another Star Atlas program to do something like operate claim stakes or put R4 on the market or something like that. So we've built this engineering framework around that, and we're ready to present this to you in bits and pieces starting next Wednesday. So next slide. Just wanted to point out the endorsement. So you will be able again to hit that endorse button, and your PVP will show as associated with that comment to kind of like bubble up and allow us to filter up the creme de la creme of all the comments that are going on there. Next. And again, the on-chain voting, I just wanted to show this again. So at the top is the total amount of PVP that is associated with that proposal. It could be in the vote itself. It could be in the comments themselves as well. But we're trying to gauge, and Dan can maybe speak to this about, he's definitely wrote about this in the white paper about the difficulty of getting involvement in these governance systems and the amount of governors that actually participate in a vote on a day-to-day basis and are actually involved. We don't know where we're going to land with this thing, and so these numbers we're going to be dialing in, and so this is going to give us an overview of like how much of all the PVP that's staked in the Polis locker is like watching this thing, right? And then again, the voting record there, the interested not interested vote, is again going to give us a gauge of whether people really like this and how much of that. How much of the actual community, that bottom button right there where it says interest vote, that is going to be like the percentage of PVP that is held outside of Automata, the community PVP. So I think we're gonna start with like maybe 10% as our goal, might be 20%. We're still dialing that number in, but we're gonna dial that in over time to know that once it hits this particular number and it has support, that we're ready to move it to the next phase in the process and move forward into that project management kind of role that we talked about. And I think that's the last slide, Dom, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Can I just make one quick comment there?
Sure.
BCM, because I do think that this is an extremely important point to emphasize, is that we do expect a significant number of proposals to be flowing into the DAO as we release community proposals in the future. And there's going to be a necessity for us to be able to prioritize what gets analyzed first, or what makes it into the next step of the process first, because even if everything passed all at one time, which is unlikely in the first place, but even if that was the case, that we would then still need to prioritize any of those objectives to the extent that they cannot be programmatically executed through the on-chain programs themselves. Giving you an example, something like a modification to an economic lever, or perhaps a request for a specific feature to be added to the game that is in demand from the community. Some of those things still need to be developed, which means they still need to be prioritized within our development pipeline. So it's important for us to first be able to prioritize what are the proposals that are the most important to the community. And you all are the ones that are making that determination based on to or your demonstration of interest in a particular proposal that's on there. So that's really it. But I think this is a very important factor that we ensured we added to this, so we could at least determine that order of priority, what is most impactful to people, and then those are the items that can be highlighted.
Yeah, like I said, we're super excited. We're committed. So Wednesday, you guys will have it.
That's super
And
exciting.
We'll be rolling out. It'll be a lot of a lot of feature releases following that. I'm sure. So
Awesome. So next Wednesday, can't wait. Dan, I know we have a lot of people that are really anxious to get proposals in. Do you want to add anything for those people?
Yeah, just briefly on that. It is actually exciting seeing some governance proposals come through already from the community. So a big shout out to Signal, who's one of our very active community members and took the initiative to put together a community written proposal called PipX, I think right now. And it's a pretty interesting proposal that basically suggests that the DAO should play an active part in the in-game resource economy. And I am fully aware there's been a lot of very vigorous discussion about the proposal. So I'm definitely not commenting on the merits or anything at this point. But the process that he followed is actually the one to follow right now, which is he basically went out there with an idea or a draft proposal that followed the general structure for a proposal. And then he started gauging public support. So, right now he would have the opportunity to see if a revised version might make sense, or then he could dive in with some revisions. If not, then go back to the drawing board, come up with a new idea, abandon the idea if it doesn't seem viable. And that's just all part of the process. So for now, really the best way to get a proposal going is just to kind of do what Signal did. Come up with an idea, draft something, circulate it in the governance channel on Discord, and then we'll see how community support comes in. If there seems to be a critical mass of community support, then we can manually right now elevate a proposal. We'll refine it and elevate it to the formal voting process. We can do that, but it would have to be done manually. It's that eventually we'll have the process be more automated, streamlined, and permissionless, so anyone with PvP can participate, submit their own ideas, and get started that way. So basically, for now, we'll just be seeing you all in the governance channel, at least for the near term.
Awesome.
I do want to make one comment for those people that aren't aware. I'm not going to comment on the merits of PipX, but one thing people might not be aware of: when the R4 was taken off the market, that revenue source for the DAO dried up. So if you look at the DAO treasury page and you look at all the in-game economic activity that's coming into the charts there on the treasury page, like that dried up when we removed that R4. So PipX would have the effect of actually restoring some of that income to the DAO. Again, I'm not going to say whether I support it or not, but from using it as an example of like the process that we would have to go through, there would either have to be some sort of manual process through the foundation to manage the actual like claims and the posting of the market orders, or we would have to actually have the blockchain developers build like a particular type of permissionless program that could do the same thing and be run permissionlessly in a decentralized on-chain thing. So those are the kind of things that we'll be looking at as we bring these proposals in and start shepherding through this process. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Does anyone else have any comments before we move on? If not, we can get started with some Q&A. Cool. All right. Well, this is the first step towards giving you guys, the community, more control. It's really exciting stuff. But yeah, let's get into some Q&A. If you have a question about the DAO or PIP1, raise your hand. Please keep it on topic, though. Would really appreciate that, guys. But yeah, like I said, raise your hand if you have any questions for the boys on the DAO team. I'm bringing you up, Calros, but I'm scared.
I actually put my hand up at the beginning and I forgot about it. So I don't have a question this time. Sorry, guys.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
No,
man.
you must ask one before you leave. You must stay here.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. As far as the manual process for elevating pips, I know when Signal was discussing his pip, there was a lot of like, we were getting a gauge for the feeling, but it was just a lot of noise and Discord, and no one had. We don't really know what PvP was like. So when you're manually approving a process, is it still using the DAO? Like, will you still be gauging based on the PvP aspect of that?
Yeah, we would basically just white glove it on there. So eventually the idea is to give you guys the ability to just create a new proposal. And again, it's not going to be like a lot of requirements other than like an idea and like a summary. But if we see that somebody has gone through the work to actually build one of these things out using the template that we specified, then we'll take a look at that. And honestly, we will probably be rolling out additional proposals before the end of the year. I can pretty much promise that. We have things on our agenda that we want to get done besides the passage of PIP 1, but we want to get PIP 1 like out the door first before we even talk about those. So following this release by July, when we have that first debate session, we'll probably be rolling out additional PIPs at that time.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Calros. All right, Bohemian, I'm bringing you up. Welcome, Bohemian. How you doing? If you're talking, I can't hear you.
Nope.
Bohemian. I'll give you a couple more seconds. Oh, I see you trying to mute and unmute. Yeah, I can't hear you. I don't have any more hands raised. Just final call for anyone who has questions about the DAO or PIP 1.
I just answered all the questions with my awesome demonstration presentation.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Melkor, you requested to speak. Bringing you up. Oh, never mind. You rescinded your offer.
Thank you, Bomber. Yes, appreciate it.
All right, Signal, I'm bringing you up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, good luck.
Hello.
Hey, how are you guys? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Fantastic. And so let me see if I can muster up like a classic, thorny, interesting Signal question for the DAO. So when these things were first introduced and when we probably first talked about the DAO not so long ago, we made really clear like how tightly separated the DAO was from Automata as a company. Totally separate site. We didn't even want it leading back to the same site. There's a foundation. There's all these different things to separate it out legally and structurally from the company. It seems like right now, at least in the way that we're discussing proposals, ideas, things that we submit, that they're kind of being gauged by the team, by internal people at Automata, how engineers in-house
in a future where the stars are within
the Star Atlas Constitution.
Sorry. How individual blockchain engineers or teams or people inside of Automata would be able to either action those things or prioritize them or interact with them. And it makes it seem, at least a little bit early on, as though when we're talking to the DAO and proposing things to the DAO, who we're really talking to and proposing things to is, in some sense, the Star Atlas team and Automata, at least in these early stages. Would you like to describe what separates this out as an organization and a structure from Automata in terms of how we create our pips, what's being reviewed, who's reviewing them, since it seems like, at least in the short term, like you said, Blockchain Man, you effectively will be the council for the next 6 months. So like, where do we
Yeah.
start drawing the line? Because it can get a little murky and gray.
So
It's a-
very good points, Dan. If you don't mind, I'd like to respond. So I didn't really talk a lot about the position of the council. So we do have a roadmap that includes an election of community members to provide that role. We have you are right, but we had a lot of discussions about this actually, about what the ideal is and where we're actually at now. And so we wanted to be very clear about how we're presenting this to you guys with that in mind. So what I want to say is that where we're at now is not where we're going to be. When we open up the floodgates, the council will be taking that role. So they will be elected from the community, and they will serve that role to kind of help things, make sure that we dot all the T's and cross all the I's, or excuse me, I said that backwards. But the thing that the frame shift that occurred to me over the past couple weeks here is that I don't work for Autonoma. I work for the DAO. So Automata actually works on behalf of the DAO as a service provider. So the goal here is that we're all part of the DAO, and the long-term goal, the long-term vision is that separation of control from where it's at now with Automata and the engineers and so forth to the community itself. And so your point is made, and it is a valid point, and I hope that addressed it. I don't know if Dan and Mike have any more they want to add on to that.
Can you hear me all right?
I'd love to hear some other thoughts if you guys have
We hear you, Swaggy.
more.
Great. Okay. It's a little choppy on my side, but Signal, first of all, I was going to commend you on your efforts in submitting the first community proposal, but after that question, I'm not. Joking, of course, but no, I really appreciate your efforts. I think you did a great job getting that out there, putting yourself out there in the open, responding to questions. So again, kudos to you for taking that initiative. Really appreciate that. I think BCM encapsulated it really well. This is just where we're at in the process. You know, this is not the final form of the application by any means. And so we're releasing this portion of it. Of course, it's going to continue to evolve. And to Dan's earlier point, is going to continue to be more decentralized and more autonomous and automated as we go into the future. That is the future that we're building for. But we are where we are today, and we're excited about getting this particular feature released to the world. With respect to your question around us being the gatekeepers of the proposals that are going in, that is not the intention whatsoever. We're not making any determination. What we're trying to imply is that if there is sufficient community interest in a particular proposal, and that is obvious, then that is a proposal that we would be happy to document and implement into the DAO proposal process on your behalf. Of course, we do have the keys to the ability to place a proposal now, because that's the way this is rolling out. Again, being the phase of development that we're in right now, it is going to be all automated in the future. It's not today, and we want to accommodate to whatever extent possible. So the first thing for us that's most
Did Mike go out for anyone?
Yeah.
can you
Oh,
hear me?
yeah, now we hear you. You're back. Oh, maybe not. He was back. Cool. Well, does anyone else have any comments?
Maybe.
Or Dan, you have one?
Yeah, maybe while Michael reconnects, we're all just dealing with so many technical issues right now. No, I mean, I think both Michaels, I guess, spoke well to the question. It's a good question. So disaffiliation is kind of one of our from like of Automata from the foundation is really critical goal of ours, and I think so. We've achieved that in a few different ways, but there are other ways in which we're trying to get further along on that path. So I think the best way to think about it is that this is just an early step towards greater disaffiliation and greater like autonomy and autonomous operation of the DAO. But for now, Automata is just providing services on behalf of the DAO, basically as a service provider. Automata is basically has been absorbing a lot of that cost associated with that. Developers' time and website uptime and whatnot. But eventually, that's all going to be folded into DAO, the DAO's own kind of budgeting processes. The DAO will have to set aside a budget for the foundation, and the foundation will then be able to pay service providers to continue developing other features for the DAO, et cetera. And that process will not involve Automata at all in the future. So that's basically the current state of things.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you for the question, Signal. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a town hall if I didn't ask a really slippery, complicated question. So I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much.
Of course. Kairos, you had another question?
Yeah, I was curious how we should be thinking about, if we're putting together a proposal, if we need devs to do something, like, do they need to get paid? Like Blockchain Man was talking about running the proposals for the next 6 months. Does the DAO need to pay for that? And if so, should that be part of our PIP? Like, do we need to come up with the income to pay for whatever tooling that we're building, or, hiring somebody to manage the claim stakes? Like, how's that all gonna pan out?
So if you look at Signal's proposal and you look at the way he's laid it out with the abstract and technical details and stuff like that, that template is basically what we're using. And one of the sections at the bottom is cost consideration. So like some of the things that Dan has required is like, conflict of interest, cost considerations, as well as like, you might not have to do the technical details, like that's our job. But if it's like a big thing that's going to take like months of work kind of thing, like say we wanted to make like a mobile game for whatever, right? That's going to take a lot of development efforts. And so we would have to consider that, if it's something that Automata is not doing currently, right? So does that answer your question?
Yeah, but so like right now, are you putting together a bill that you're gonna, the DAO's gonna have to pay back later because the DAO doesn't have any money right now? So is there some sort of accruing tab that is going to pay for the development time that is moving these things forward?
I don't know if Dan wants to chime in on that. I don't really have an answer for you other than read the PIP on Wednesday. Because if that doesn't answer your question, then we should talk more. But I don't know if Dan wants to say anything on that since he wrote the text.
I'm back on PC with stable connection and stable power, I think.
Sounding crisp.
Sounded crisp. Okay, good. So no, there is no accruing tab right now, and this is the very reason why, since inception, the primary revenue off of primary market sales has flowed into Automata as an organization, because obviously there are substantial costs to developing out this product. The intention is through time to restructure the way that revenue flows overall, and this is really a future conversation, a negotiation, if you will, as to what that looks like, both the transference of things like intellectual property and any form of revenue share or any form of ongoing contractual obligation that the DAO may have to pay Automata to continue development services. It will take us time to get there, same thing, and these are conversations that we're looking forward to. But as of right now, the way we've structured it is that primary revenue from primary sales flows to us so that we can continue building all of these features and all of these services on behalf of the DAO. But we're not going to hit the DAO with the bill at some point later. The only caveat to that is the ongoing registration and Board of Governors fees that are associated with the foundation itself. That is something that we have covered on the Automata side. We're not looking for reimbursement on that, but we do want to transfer that liability to the DAO as soon as possible. And I would just clarify that the DAO does actually have money as of right now. I think it's still sitting on something like $1.5 million.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Cool. I'm going to bring up one. Do we have time for one more question, Michael?
Yeah.
All right, let's bring up Melkor135.
Hi.
We hear you.
Hi.
Yeah. Maybe this is a silly question, not as deep as the other one, but I hear that you guys say that there will be maybe tough to keep the participation up, and I think that most of the people that plays don't spend too much time on forums like this one, even if you have a power to actually do something. But my question is, for all the people that doesn't speak English quite well, like me, that barely can keep with this conversation, will be any kind of translation that we can feel like official, and we don't have a keyword change by Google Translator that end up be ruled by a Dark Lord or something? I don't know if I say it that right.
Buenos días, señor. ¿Cómo está?
Yo muy bien.
So we're cognizant of that, and so there's a lot of discussion within Automata about translation tools to make sure that this information is disseminated to our friends in Italy, our friends in South America, and so forth. So if you're asking about help with that, then that is something that we are concerned with. I don't have an answer for you today, but if it's around translation, then we're aware of that.
Yes, that's what I'm asking for. It's actually hard to read a lot of text, and if it's not your language, it's even harder though. So that's what I think.
So I can I don't know if this isn't alpha, but one thing that we have been looking at is ways to pipeline translations of our output. So for example, Econ has come to me. They produce these quarterly reports every week that are these long, documents about the economics of the DAO. And so we're looking at ways that we can use like, language models and stuff to automatically translate that and have that available. So one of the things that we have discussed, and this is nowhere on our pipeline right now, but these are the kinds of things that we just talk about, is having a drop-down box where you can literally change the language of the page and have it translate right there while you're looking at it. Now, I know that Google does offer that with certain web pages right now. I don't think I've ever tried to do it with ours. But maybe somebody in the community has tried that to see if like Google Translate works well within the system. And if it doesn't, we can try to accommodate that if it's a UX issue. So does that answer?
Yes, a bit, but what I mean or what I ask is that I can translate it with Google and it works fine. But when you make an worth decision that has a big value or that you really care, you can lose the whole sentence with one bad translate word. I don't know if you get my point.
Yes, mistranslation.
And that's the problem with Google. So that's why I'm asking for any kind of official translation or something like that. I know it's not a priority, but I don't know. I have that question.
Yeah, and one way ultimately that I've seen this problem solved with other DAOs is that there's usually like a bounty system for performing translations. So for example, if we have like one of these large documents that need to be translated into Vietnamese or something like that, ultimately like somebody should be rewarded by the DAO for performing that service. So long term, we'd like to move towards to something like that where we can do that. I don't know if I have immediate answer for you on what we can do, but like part of my role is to look at like these language models, for example, is figure out how well they do translations, make sure that, as you say, they're not transliterating a word that changes the entire meaning of the sentence, right? So that's a huge concern. And these are things that we think about and we discuss internally. So,
okay, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Melkor. Appreciate the question.
I just want to hop in on that really quickly as well, and just note that the translation of all of the applications and all of our content is something that's important to us, though it is also quite challenging to facilitate from a resource standpoint, given we have this global community and there's many languages to translate to. But Dom, I think you're probably one of the best people that can speak to the fact that even within the Discord itself, we have these channels that are dedicated to different geographies and different languages, and we do hope that the community is able to support us in these efforts of translating content and making it comprehensible for everyone out there who wishes to participate.
Exactly. We do have different language channels where we have mods and other selected community members who translate all the announcements that they can, and they put as many resources as they can for that section of the community. So yeah, definitely check out the worldwide language channels if you haven't seen those already.
I'll answer
cool.
one more question from the comments here in the amphitheater from Gan Fall. He says, so the treasury is going to be used when Atlas value is at its lowest, or would that Atlas be held until the Atlas price is higher, or is it going to be spent at the current value? Again, that is not our decision. This is the decision of the DAO. So again, we're not imposing any liabilities on the DAO immediately. That would include even the operating costs associated with the foundation. Although the DAO right now does possess probably approaching 200,000 in USDC value, and a portion of that could be used to cover the foundation costs. But
I
nevertheless,
just dropped the link. It's $180,000 in USDC,
yeah,
and a total treasury asset value of about just over $1 million in tokens.
yeah, great. So and of course, full transparency would be offered as to what those actual operating costs are. It's essentially business registration fees, as well as paying for the board of directors there, which is 2 independent directors, and Dan is also on that board. But in any event, the real conclusion is we don't determine how that money gets spent. People that have Polis locked in the Polis locker get to determine how that money is spent.
Awesome. Well, I think it's a really good time to close then. We're hitting exactly on the hour here. I want to first and foremost say thank you to my co-host, Michael. Thank you for BCM and Dan for coming on as well. And everyone, it's been great hanging out with you all today, giving you updates on what we're building. As just a quick recap on what we talked about today, we talked about the Showroom 2.1 patch, which is coming today. So look forward to that. I'll definitely be playing it in the voice chat today as well. We talked about Destination Starbase, which includes 3 miner ships with dual utility in faction claims and faction fleet. And then we gave the DAO update, where we'll have Proposal 1 or PIP 1 next Wednesday. So it's been a great town hall. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts?
I'll just say, once again, Santi, you were missed. Dom, you did a great job up here. Really appreciate you co-hosting with me today. And of special note, like when Santi's here, I never have these technical issues. So correlation is not causation, but I don't know, man. Might have to get Santi back for the next one.
I had to hit you offline. Sorry.
All right, guys, this was great. BCM, thanks for joining us. Dan, thanks for joining us. Everyone, thanks for the great questions. Have a fantastic weekend. And I think I got cut off, Dom, but I was saying when the patch rolls out later tonight, why don't we set up a multiplayer sesh for the community?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Power to the people.
Take care, everyone, and stick it to the man.
In a future where the stars are within our grasp, a visionary stands at the forefront of a revolution, filled with brilliant minds with a passion for progress, and a true champion of the people.